48 years ago, David Berkowitz, Sam Solo, stood roughly where I'm standing right now, and sniper that he was, shot Harvey, the black lab of the Carr family, of course, who lived at 316 Warburton Avenue, this house that we are looking at the back of. And of course, he did this as part of a terror campaign that was going on in this neighborhood, right in the vicinity of his apartment, which of course was basically right up that hill there. The trees making it impossible to see the entire building. But of course, his ire this April morning was aimed at Harvey, the blood monster, the dog that wouldn't stop barking. And so we're back here on Wicker Street in the Aqueduct in the Carr home to bring you what is actually going to be the last video of this iteration of the video series, and we'll talk about a little bit more about that. But I thought I heard someone just call my name. But yeah, so I figure that before I went out and got out of here, or actually I should say the best word is transition, that we would just take one last walk around the neighborhood where we've spent so much time together these last 4 years, making amazing discoveries along the way. Of course, meeting so many amazing people right here on Wicker Street and all over Yonkers, really. I mean, what an experience it was. And of course, I really feel like this is the epicenter of our video series, just like it was sort of the epicenter of the Son of Sam spree. But as we're going to talk a little bit more about today, what was the Son of Sam spree? And is it still going on to this day? Anyway, we'll ponder on these things as we say goodbye to the last 4 years and move on to the next iteration of whatever the hell else is not only coming next. So yeah, so we're here now at 22 Wicker Street. This was the Horror Hotel. This was the house that, when the souls were brought to the attic of 18 Wicker Street, they were brought both to the basement of 18 Wicker and, of course, to 22 Wicker Street, where their souls were raped. And of course, all this according to Sam Solo, David Berkowitz, who, again, sniper that he was, one December 22nd, 1976, stood roughly where I'm standing right here and shot Rocket with a .22 caliber rifle, the whole of which is still visible. We're not going to go on the property today, but you've all seen it if you're old fans of the video series, the whole of which is still visible right next to that railing. So the epicenter of the Son of Sam spree. But really, the epicenter of Son of Sam, I'm starting to think, was wherever David Berkowitz lay his head. Possibly as far back as him being 17 years old, as we're talking about in the Bronx sniper case. So anyway, yeah, so we're ending the video series. May 31st is going to be our last day of the series as we look at this garden one last time next to the Carr house with the beautiful clematis vine, which has not yet bloomed. And as we say goodbye to these neighborhoods, and as I say goodbye to this area of the world where I grew up and is special to me, increasingly less so, of course, in the last few years. But I figure we'll take a new route today. We'll walk on the street, on the road proper, take a look at the Carr house one last time, because God knows how long this is going to be up. I had a notion that this was going to be torn down because they were doing a rezoning meeting, but this may be up for quite a while. And even the front entrance is still the same from the 70s. It's a different color. Of course, a humongous house. which served many purposes for this family, this industrious family. Because just like we were doing before, we were standing behind the car house. Well, I stand behind the cars. It only makes sense if you know this case to stand behind the cars as we look on a changing landscape of Yonkers. Huge old mansions dotting the landscape in front of the proliferating dandelion. Doing my Andrew Wyeth, my best Andrew Wyeth impression right now. Don Julio. So listen, I know that nobody really cares about this. I'm doing this, well, because I'd like to get some things off my chest and talk about things. I don't expect anybody to give a crap as we look at this creeping phlox. Beautiful stuff for a very short amount of time during the year. Along with tulips, this would have been better to put different colors in. It's a little too monotone, but be that as it may. And we get a flavor of what this neighborhood is like. So yeah, I love these old Yonkers neighborhoods. I've been walking through these neighborhoods since I'm a teenager. I used to have a drum teacher who lived not too far from here. And I would actually walk from Riverdale to his house every week for lessons, which were a waste of my time because I never practiced for them. An early example of how I just have no discipline if someone else tells me to do something. But anyhow, yeah, so as I've been saying for the last couple months and has been obvious for the last few years, for the last few months, we're at the end of the season, end of the line for the video series. At this point, there's nothing else to talk about. Look. So, as we walk through the hood, so I'm just doing this, of course, without a script, collecting my thoughts, of course, keeping an eye on my surroundings. It's interesting, an Italian flag over there. So as we walk past the Family Dollar store, I make sure that we don't get run over by the increasingly amount of drivers on weed, and look down towards the power plant. So there's nothing, of course, more to talk about in Son of Sam at this juncture. There's not going to be for quite a while. We, of course, have changed the understanding of this, and the new understanding is nascent. Like, I'm not even quite sure how to articulate it. But I'm thinking that Son of Sam was a lifelong thing, and it still continues to this day. This dude, as a young child, his nickname was Sneaky by his parents. He was sneaking in, stealing stuff, getting training, in a sense, building up his muscles, not physically, but mentally, to become a prowler and a sniper. And learning skills that later became very important to him and useful to him as the Son of Sam proper. And of course, learning skills like how to charm people and use his face and smile as a weapon. Here we got some of the bamboo. So I'm starting to think of Son of Sam as something that started as a childhood thing with Berkowitz and has not ended to this day. And I'll talk about that in a second. And again, these are just musings, thoughts of a Son of Sam researcher who, of course, came at this case initially because I was once the most biggest conspiracy theorist out there. I first got into the Maury Terry story in 1997 when I read The Ultimate Evil for the first of what would be about 300 times, give or take. The Ultimate Evil was my bedside book for 10 to 15 years. I don't want to give an exact number unless it's not the same as the number I said in a previous video, because of course that'll get used against me. But yeah, so I started this video series, of course, during the pandemic, when we were all locked down, in the throes of the lockdown. I actually started it a year into the pandemic. I didn't get in until I had started watching Jeff Berkowitz, the Dollar Vigilante, and of course Jason Goodman, highly influential person to me, who I later worked with in my video series early on, and who I'm sad to say now thinks I'm a social engineer for whatever reason, but that's a subject for another day. As we see renovation taking place as life goes on in Yonkers, New York. So we're coming up to the Philippe's Manor here, with beautiful cherry trees, smokestacks of the power plant, and we'll head back up Philippe's, taking a look at some beautiful architecture as we go, as we talk about the last days of the series. I'm filming this in early May. The series doesn't end until May 31st, so we may get a couple more live streams and hopefully another Lorenzo video. But I wanted to do this as sort of like the capstone to another section. You know, like Russia would do live albums every 4 years in the beginning. So I actually already had a Goodbye to Son of Sam video that I made, and 2 years ago when I thought I was done. I think that was before People vs. David Berkowitz came out. I'm not quite sure. But I made the mistake and learned the lesson that never say you're actually done, and I'm not. But we are finished with this iteration of the series, and I want to talk about it. This beautiful Mugo pine right here, giving the finger to the world. Hey yo, I fangul over here. I fangul. Yeah, I fangul over here. So yeah, and of course along the way, this video series became so popular because, you know, we struck at the right time. We hit it during the pandemic, when everybody was stuck inside. And my audience, of course, early on was people who were fed up at the whole crap. Because of course the thing was fake, it was a global hoax. The masks, the Hitlerification, Third Reichification of our culture that occurred. And of course laid some certain cultural new practices in cement, which are not gonna go away, which is another reason why this video series is ending, because I'm getting the F out of here. I know I may lose some people with this, but Trump 2.0 is gonna be a disaster, mark my words. Number one ended in March 2020 with lockdowns. What's next? They're gonna be installing Cuomo as governor. I can't believe as mayor. I can't believe I'm still talking about this 3 years later. These people should be in Colorado supermax, and society should be flourishing, having deposed itself of all these tyrants. But instead we're re-electing Cuomo as mayor, and then our boy Lockdown Don is back in the White House. You think that's gonna end well? So I'm seeing the writing on the wall early. I'm getting the hell out. And so this video series has to come to an end, at least this iteration thereof. Priorities are changing, times are changing. Let's be real. You guys don't even feel it anymore. You know, I love doing this video series. It's kept me sane throughout this dark period of the last 4 years. were things that I had worked a lot for and built my identity on. Gardener, landscaper, permaculture, teacher, hot shit teacher, NYBG, all came crumbling into dust. And of course made me realize that the world doesn't care. So it's been a really profound period of change for me the last 4 years. I do things very slowly. It took me a while to get to this point because things were actually still sort of humming along, getting by on the little clientele that I had, but I finally lost the last account. I don't know why, who knows? Actually, I do know why. I don't get along with the New York City leftists. I think they're scum, and no matter what I do when I'm around them, even if I put on a nice face, it just must come out in my body language. I'm disgusted by these people, and I want to get away from them. This video is actually a little transitional because I'm going into a new video channel called Permaculture Puerto Rico. So I've had a farm, and it's generational. It's been in the family since the 60s. And I've been planting it up since 2008. I have amazing trees down there, durian, mangosteen. Oh, mangosteen, it's gonna take 15 years to bloom and get its first fruit. So I was alive 15 years ago. I said, if I'm alive in 15 years, it's better that I plant this now than not plant it. Because if I plant it in 15 years, it's gonna have fruit. If I don't plant it in 15 years, I'll be still alive, but there won't be fruit. And here we are 15 years later, and the trees are now bearing fruit. Soursop, avocado, banana, mango, not to mention the potential to grow all sorts of herbs and brassicas, melons, squashes. And I have 10 acres to turn into a beautiful botanical garden, which when I pass away, I plan to deed to the Commonwealth, or whatever they call it, territory of Puerto Rico, possession of Puerto Rico, to the government. So hopefully it stays in perpetuity as a maintained garden, much like Untermeyer and so on and so forth like that. And all the while, something organically will build up in terms of making money. I'm gonna try to grow most of my own food and barter with my neighbors who I plan to get along with, not talk about Son of Sam with, not get into arguments with over, I'm right and you're wrong. This ego games that we play. So I got a lot of hopes, which I'm not really thinking about too much. My new motto is start at A and get to Z, but just concentrate on A and don't worry about B or C or D, because things are gonna work out. And it's either that or homelessness. Homelessness here, living in my car. And there's a whole genre now on YouTube of like people who were formerly middle class, office managers, middle managers, tech people, whoops. Who are now either unemployed not voluntarily, or they basically decided to live in their cars. A lot of people are dropping out from American society. So yeah, so my new video series is gonna be more videos like this, where I just talk about other shit than Son of Sam. I mean, Sam's so fucking boring already. It boils down to Maury lied. A, it was B, as we could all now see. And it was indeed not we car. Who was not driving down Bay 17th Street, almost getting into an accident and yelling out, motherfucker, at Alan Masters. The cult theory was a farce. We proved it because we built up the infrastructure to be able to prove it. Before we came along, nobody had any files. Our video series became very popular. The files were released. We studied the files. We compared them to Maury's words. We realized that he made it all up. Then, of course, we found Billy the Artist, which was the final nail in the coffin of Maury Terry's cult theory. And then, really, is what I think is the great capstone, is rethinking Son of Sam for the 21st century. And realizing that it was a domestic sniper situation. And Son of Sam continues to this day. I'll get into that thought pattern in a minute. So I have a couple of regrets, I guess. The first would be that I have no opportunity to speak to a David Berkowitz who's going to be a truth teller. I don't want to speak to Berkowitz. It's never been a goal of mine. For the last 4 years, if anybody asked me, I said, well, yeah, of course I'd speak to him, but I'm not looking to do it, and I don't care if I do or don't, because I don't need David Berkowitz. I already have everything I need, just strictly forensically, to prove that he was Sam Solo. His words, of course, to Abrahamson and other people corroborating them in the subsequent years have been amazing. I had his friends to tell me to fill in a lot of the blanks, which of course nobody before us has ever gotten before. This series built on itself. That's what people don't understand. It was a journey of discovery. And the end discovery is that we have to rethink this entire notion of what was Son of Sam. This dude was a violent, psychotic dude ever since he was a little kid. Even if his stories about all those dead bodies he saw as a child are fake, just the fact that he thought about that is sick. Of course, I think it's real, most of those stories. But yeah, as a child he was sick. Talked about hitting someone over the head. He was taking a bath with some girl, little girl, when he was a little boy, and he hit her over the head with, I think with a toy gun, if I'm not mistaken. Who knows what imprint that put on his developing mind. Seriously, one little image you see when you're 3 years old could have lasting effects. With me, it was Linda Carter and Wonder Woman, although I was 4. Changed my mind forever into what the archetype of beauty would be for me personally. So anyway, that's a whole other topic as we pass by Arthur. Let's walk up here. F it. Let's see some of these areas as we walk and talk Son of Sam. Let's do something different. So yeah, as I was saying, so Son of Sam continued in a sense as a teenager, possibly doing arsons, learning all sorts of skills as an auxiliary police buff. Dead end. By his own admission, disappearing for days at a time, going on long reconnaissance missions, in a sense, on his bicycle upstate. Steep hill. Aqueduct down there. Yeah, we'll walk back this way. Let's just see where that takes us on our happy little journey today as we muse on the last 4 years and talk about the future. So of course, then we get into the teenage years, late teenage years, 1970, and our theory that Berkowitz could be the infamous Bronx sniper, which would take him shooting people and killing people back to 1970. It's a cool little Brady Bunch house. Amazing architecture, beautiful houses and landscapes. Absolutely gorgeous. Hilly. Oh man, he's huffing and puffing. Let's see what's down this. Is this a dead end? I don't think so. Let's go down Windsor Terrace. Might be a dead end. Beautiful dogwood tree in the distance. Yeah, we'll get up to that street. Looks like a main street. That might cut down back to where we were. So you see, just like in New York City, in Yonkers too, you go from the ghetto to the most beautiful, exclusive mansion type areas, really within the span of 2 blocks. Ooh, nice landscaping. Prunus lorocoracis, the emerging flowers, Japanese maple, good contrast, Alcuba, Hosta, Vinca in full bloom. Really a well thought out garden, utilizing the mainly shady exterior of the north facing facade. So let's just say in this new theory I have, Son of Sam is lifelong. That it's still going on to this very day as this guy's alive. So 1970 may or may not be the Bronx Sniper. His name is valid to throw in there because of the proximity of his physical location to the crimes and the criminology. And then he goes to the army, comes back, and then in 1975, he comes back in 74. By Christmas 75, by his own admission, he's stabbing girls on streets in the Bronx. And it was too personal for him. So, hey, how are you? And it was very personal to him. As my friends in Yonkers Police Department drive by. So, Son of Sam, of course, officially starts on April 9th, 1976, if you want to use the official timeline, with the addition of Wendy Savino's name to the list of official Son of Sam victims. And that ends in August of 1977, where the new phase of Son of Sam begins. And no one's ever thought of this before. And so, of course, this is gonna get some ridicule. Don't care. Never bothered me before. I enjoy it. Actually, we'll go this way. Go down Glenwood. But my theory, the way I'm thinking of Son of Sam now, is that after his jailing, that's when all he could do was victimization of people with his words and his actions, not killing people, but he could start victimizing people. So that was the motivation, of course, behind him saying Stacy was a whore, right? In the jail, in the courtroom scene. And then, of course, manipulating Ollie Smith, the preacher. He was talking about being Christian when to Abramson he was talking about how he was just telling Ollie Smith what she wanted to hear, but that his real secret wish is to blaspheme. This dude's writing that, not me. All I've been is the conduit for this information, interpreting it in the only reasonable and logical way it can be interpreted. So, so then the victimization with words happens, and he hooks up with Maury Terry, who of course he originally thought was a schmuck, wrote it, several locations about how how poor he thought of Maury Terry, which of course Maury Terry fans to this day are either unaware of or they ignore, just like they ignore Billy the Artist. They ignore the forensic evidence. They ignore the easily proven ways that Maury lied about each shooting to craft a narrative. And everybody's catching on now. So now we're up in the neighborhood of Maury's Nests. The doctors all lived here that were molesting and trafficking and teenage victims brought to them by Ace the Hinge Brown of Jim Rothstein fame. Okay, if that's where you want to put your mental energy, it's fine with me. I mean, if your cult theory rests on the word of Ace the Hinge Brown, yo, have at it. Enjoy that work. I hope you find all that tapes, those tapes that Rothstein claims exist, which of course people say that I have. I've never once possessed an Ace Brown tape. That is a 100% surety. Believe me, I wanted to hear it. And let's just say Ace Brown corroborates some stuff that Maury Terry later put in a book. It's still not proof. That we don't know what happened before the tape rolled. This could be another Billy the Artist situation, Brother John situation. Most likely was. And the originator of all this was Jim Rothstein. All of this Ace Brown stuff. He's the guy who brought Ace into it. So anyway, that's a whole mess. That if your whole worldview hinges on Ace Brown, you got serious problems. Wow, beautiful homes. But whatever, man. I'm good. Whoops. Oh, I didn't look when I crossed that street. That was very stupid of me. Yeah, this is where the bodies were buried in this general area that Brother John took out. Okay, if you want to believe that. I spoke to a guy the other day who lived in the house right behind where these alleged bodies were buried. He said nothing ever occurred there of the sort. Maury Terry would drum that into people's heads and then people would just believe it because Maury said it. For some reason, he was revered. So anyhow, ooh, big house here, the Neme residents. I have no idea who they are, nor do I give a shit. So yeah, post-arrest, the victimization continues. And it continues to this day with him lying about Wendy Savino to his incredibly venal and unintelligent, very warped, mentally, spiritually toxic people. His current fan club. That's another reason why I have no interest in speaking to Berkowitz. I don't care about Berkowitz. Because you're not going to get the truth from him. I've been saying it first. Look at how he lied about Wendy Savino, with the evidence pointing everything notching into place that it was him. Look how he lied about that. And then lied to his friends. And I know that to be a fact. That information eventually will come out. Mark my words, people. You don't think I have a few things left up my sleeve for another time? Ooh, look at that house, big. I have no idea where the hell we are, but I know that we're heading south. Seems like another dead end. But whatever, we're having fun today. Talking about my new theory of lifelong Son of Sam. So yeah, so he's not able to shoot people anymore, so he gets his jollies out on victimizing people with his words. And of course, playing the Christian grift, because that's how you get the most attention and the most privileges and perks in jail. I mean, the dude is a master manipulator, incredibly sociopathic and narcissistic. loves toying with people, as evidenced during the Son of Sam spree, and his nickname being Sneaky as a kid, and all sorts of stuff like that. Nobody takes the holistic view in Sam except for us. And it's a view that you could only have if you, first of all, have a knowledge of the case, but also bring in other modalities. You have to bring in sociology. In a sense, to understand Sam, you have to be of this area, of this cultural milieu that we call the North Bronx, Yonkers, East Bronx, New York City in general. It's almost a requirement for this case, because it really was a case of New York City and a kid from the Bronx who honed city skills and country skills because of the Bronx's unique location. I did the same thing, except I didn't go out and shoot people as to get my frustrations out. I played the drums, I wrote music, went hiking, later did my gardening, and so on and so forth. Healthy ways to get out stress. This video series, that was a major hill. It's a great walk today. So let's take a look at some of these houses as we walk back towards Pine. You know, Berkowitz has been writing recently about a major betrayal he's had in his life. And it came in the wake of all the Wendy Savino stuff. So that I am curious about. Who betrayed him? Can only be a handful of people. Wow, look at this house. This is the house that Brother John said children were trafficked to. Right up there. We'll cross and take a look. Huge, beautiful house. I mean, listen, did sickos live in these houses? They could have, I don't know. But the thing is that you don't know either. So Maury Terry's gonna tell you that this house was a place that Brother John took kids in to torture them. And you're just gonna believe that. And so all of a sudden now this neighborhood becomes the cult in 1950. I mean, I'm not even gonna go. I'm not even gonna continue. All I'll say to the Maury fans is, check me back in 30 years. In the year 2050, let's all have a convocation or a whatever the hell the word is. And we'll get together and we'll compare notes and we'll see how far we've come in our Son of Sam journeys. And I'll be curious to see how far you get. You have all of Maury Terry's material. Where's your shows? I haven't seen any shows on it. None that matter, none that actually back up Maury's words with real evidence. You could talk about words typewritten on a piece of paper all day long. It doesn't bring anything to the table. You could assume that they're true, but you can't make that assumption because you haven't backed them up. Like, I found that Tony R. crucial and non-involved, the artist, Untermeyer, that's on Maury Terry's Holy Grail, his list of witnesses. He called him crucial. I found that guy, and I brought him to you. And we got a different story. So you're gonna tell me that Maury Terry's words mean something? As we looked at Dr. Honorado's house, or I think it was there, here. Oh, right here. We once brought this guy into Son of Sam under no evidence whatsoever. I was doing this when I started the video series. I was working hand in hand with Jess D and Max Heusler, the backstabber, dude who sees fit to talk about everybody behind their back when they're not present, and then do it in front of me. I was working with Jonathan Mithsell in those years, so although even then I thought he was a little off. Constantly talking about Suzanne Conway. The priestess. Pretty soon after I heard this name Conway, I met a bunch of people who knew her, and every one of them laughed at the notion of her being the priestess. Petty criminal who Maury Terry probably had a crush on, brought her into this because he just happened to know her name from circles that he ran in. It's the only thing I can think of. So anyway, wow, I'm just talking about a whole bunch of stuff here and not really getting to any point. But yeah, Son of Sam continues to this day, I believe, with his victimization of the current crop. Berkowitz will only talk to you under curated conditions, and he only talks to people that he thinks are idiots. Okay? Now, I'm going to accept Michael Caparelli from that, PhD spiritual counselor, because I think that there was something deeper there between those two. Not in a nefarious way, I'm talking about in a positive way. I think out of anybody, Caparelli really got into this guy and got us the best modern understanding of where this guy's thinking. Although the Christian stuff is horse crap. That's a grift. But still, and he got him to admit, of course, that he lied to Maury Terry, which was huge. But he only talks to idiots. So I want to be an idiot and talk to this guy. He's never going to tell me the truth. He's never going to be honest. He's never going to give me what I want, which is the stories behind each crime. He remembers every single thing about them. He wrote that he did. He's obsessed with this stuff. He's also obsessed with me. Don't kid yourself. I know that first-hand fact that dude is obsessed with Manny Grossman. I'm all that guy thinks about. And he actually does want to talk to me, but he can't because he has to save face to these morons that he has around him that are paying his way through life and also fawning on him like he's some hero. Can you imagine how sick you have to be to fawn over a guy who shot girls in the face? So anyway, yeah, I want to see how much, I don't have much battery left. So let me kind of get to the point here, tell you what's going to happen. Yeah, so we're ending this iteration of the series. May 31st, I'm out of my current apartment. I'm going to be moving to Puerto Rico by July. You might have heard something about a Netflix documentary. We did film it. We filmed it in 2024. It was finished. I was told it would be coming out all sorts of times. I've kind of forgotten about it. I've moved on in life. I don't have anything negative to say. I think if it comes out, it's going to be absolutely amazing given what I know about who's in it and so on and so forth. But I've detached my ego from it. I couldn't care less. So I'll be in Puerto Rico if that ever comes out. And my hope then is to somehow do interviews with people you've never seen before who I got for the documentary and who I've been saving to put on my channel because I want them to come out on the big screen first. So we'll come back when that happens, or if that happens. But until then, I'm basically out of the game. And I'm gonna, of course, try to extricate myself from talking about the case. And I'm gonna shut down my comment section. So I'm gonna put everything on hold. You can still comment, but if it doesn't come out right away, it's because I'm holding it for approval. Just because every morning I have to wake up and delete like 20 bot spam comments that obviously are paid for by somebody. And it's a mild annoyance, it takes a minute, but I just don't want those accumulating while I am not curating the site actively. So let me see as we look here at this viburnum. So, anyway, I don't know if we're gonna make it to Pine. So if it just cuts out abruptly, that's my goodbye, okay? I won't bother to, because I'll probably see you on another live stream or two. And I'm hoping to get another video out of Mike, like I said. But I had an opportunity to do this today. So of course, the people I want to thank mainly for this iteration of the series are Gary McNerney, who got us so many amazing guests and opened up so many amazing doors and avenues of investigation. all the people that he got us. Let me actually look at this list, because people got angry last time when I did this. You didn't tell me, you didn't put my name on there. All right, let me see if I'm still, yeah, I think I am. So of course, Ruby, for always being there for my needs for technology. If I needed an article or a video downloaded, she was always there, never within, always within reach, and has been a loyal and allied, trusted friend. Of course, Lorenzo, the rabbi of the series, the dude who opened it all up, one of my most amazing, trusted, and valued friends and allies. Klein, Robert Klein, Detective Robert Klein, hold on. See, we still are. Who, of course, was so integral and really the guy who was able to get through the Wendy Savino case to NYPD, and who took such a personal interest in it because he felt it was true and he wanted justice for this woman who, she's the one who's been saying that Berkowitz shot her, not me, not Lorenzo, not Klein. It all comes from her. So we want to give a big shout out to Klein and of course the Savino family for bearing themselves fully on our video series and opening themselves up to the most horrific of attacks. People saying that they were mobsters and that she was shot by her husband. It's sickening. I'm just checking sure that I'm not out of batteries, but I am what I am. And luckily, they just continue to do their thing and remain steadfast in their story that they've told for 50 years that, yeah, it was indeed David Berkowitz who shot her. And so that brings us to the end of the walk and talks and the end of this iteration of the video series. If you see me again, it will be after this Netflix thing comes out. And if it doesn't come out, you're not gonna see me again here. But please check out my new channel. Let me just make sure I'm not out of batteries. Yep. My new channel, Puerto Rico Permaculture. I'll link it down below. And everyone, thank you so much for all your positivity and coolness these last 4 years. And we will see you on the sunny mountains of Puerto Rico as we finish here, oddly enough, or presciently or poetically enough, right here on Glenwood Avenue. The hill going down to Sam Solo's 7th floor apartment on Pine Street. All right, guys, thanks a lot.